Let's preview tonight's Spurs-Denver game out in Austin. Ask the question, is Wemby going to be enough to attract big-time free agents?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the Cybertron Springs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. You guys are the everydayers. Appreciate y'all listening on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Ken's 5 Plus app. Seriously, wherever y'all find Locked On Spurs, keep on listening, keep on subscribing. What are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at tonight's Spurs-Nuggets game in Austin. I'll give you a quick preview, then bring in our guest, Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. We're going to be discussing if Wemby is going to be enough to buck that trend, that stereotype, well, just the fact that big-time free agents don't come to San Antonio. And then talk about you guys, Locked On Spurs fan comments. Got two of them, two good ones as well. So wait to hear what we have to say about what y'all are talking at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. But first, Spurs Nuggets tonight. Yeah, the first of two games out in Austin, Texas, state capital. They got Denver tonight, and then they'll play Brooklyn on Sunday. But they got some big task ahead of them. They got Nicholas Jokic, the Joker, and Denver, the defending champs, taking on the Spurs. So let's dive into it. The Spurs come into tonight's contest 14-52. Denver is 46-20. And the Spurs, well, we rewind the clock a bit, are coming off a home loss versus the Rockets, 103-101. Wemby had himself 13 points, 10 rebounds. Malachi had 4 points. Zach Collins added 7. Devin Vassell added 6 points. Keldon Johnson did not play due to illness. Injury report, it looks like all the big-time players will be playing except for Cedi Osman, who is still out with an injury. There's a chance that maybe some of the G League Austin Spurs guys will play. The following are questionable: Boye, Sissoko, Raekwon Gray, and Duke Jr., all questionable G League. Who knows? Maybe they might get their chance to play the NBA squad tonight versus Denver. For those on uniform watch, the Spurs will be in their white association edition of jerseys tonight. All right, let's, as we always do, we always start with the opposition. So what are we looking for from the Denver side? Well, they're on a roll. They won 4 road games in a row, and then going into tonight's game versus San Antonio, bottom of the West, a tall task ahead for the Spurs to beat the defending champs. So the Nuggets are hot. Now, point number 2 you got to watch out for is why they're winning. Well, one of the big reasons why Denver is on a 4-game winning streak is because they're passing that ball around. In the last 4 games, they've recorded more assists than their opponents in 4 straight games. So that's a big reason why Denver is on a winning streak right now, all on the road. So they're sharing the ball. They're facilitating. So keep an eye on that on the Denver side. Also, keep an eye on the scoreboard. This season, the Nuggets are 13-3 on the road when they're leading at halftime. So they're nearly unbeatable. Hopefully that doesn't happen for your Spurs. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears now. Look at the San Antonio side. Now, good news is that the Spurs are knocking down their shots, at least from the 3 line. They have made more 3-point shots than the opposition in 8 straight games. They're falling. It's just, they're not putting complete games together. So at least that they got going for them heading into tonight's game versus Denver. Other good thing that they got going for them is that the Spurs have been out rebounding the opposition in 3 straight games. So they're cleaning the boards. They're getting those second chance opportunities. They're, again, keeping the opposition off the boards. So they'll be needed tonight because Denver is a big team. Aside from Joker, is Gordon and the whole crew there. So keep an eye on that. So hopefully the Spurs can continue that. And they need all hands on deck, everything going right for them to hopefully have a chance versus the defending champs. All right, there's your quick Spurs Nuggets preview. When we get back, we're going to bring in our guest, Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. We're going to be discussing if Wemby is going to be enough to buck that trend of big-time free agents not coming to San Antonio. Is he going to be a draw eventually? Then talk about you guys, Locked On Spurs fans, and what are y'all talking about at those comments that you're all leaving at the YouTube page. Hey, I want to talk to you about eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you with players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. Let's see who Josh picked for this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. And he went with the former Spur, Jock Landale. Yeah, that's right. the now Houston Rockets player. He says Landale will see larger minutes with Alperen Sengun's season done in Houston. So he's recommending you guys go and get Jock Landale to your team. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being the perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. Look, you got yourself a dream ride you have right now. You want to keep it tip-top shape? eBay Motors. What about that car that you really, really love and you're going to get it, but you need some parts? You want to go to eBay Motors. So, look, going to eBay Motors is simple, and it should be your one-stop place for all things auto parts. Hey, do you remember that time you had to fix your car from breaking down or just to keep it going? You want to go to eBay Motors. Get that cool upgrade you've been really wanting to add to your ride at eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, they got it. LED headlights, check. Roof racks, yep. Bumpers, yep. Whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're going to be burning rubber, not cash. So that's where you got to go to eBay Motors. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we are now joined by my good friend Raul Dominguez of AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. Raul, welcome back to Locked On Spurs, buddy.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah. No nerd out? No nerd shirt today? I'm a little disappointed.
Not today.
Not today. Maybe, you know what it is? I see you wearing a South Padre Island. You're ready for the season to be over, aren't you? That's what it is. That's what it is. You're like, all right, Spurs, we got how many home games left? About 7, 6? So, yeah, let's get these going. But, again, make sure to follow Raul on X at Dominguez5. Really good follow. Talk your ear off, everything. Even pop culture, nerd stuff, sports, Spurs stuff. It's all there. Make sure to give him a good follow. Hey, so, Raul, as the rebuild continues, we know what the Spurs have as far as assets and players and contracts and picks. We get all that. We understand that. But perhaps the biggest draw in the rebuild is Wemby. Wemby is otherworldly. He's never seen before. My goodness, this guy is going to be the next face of the league. So with that, you would think that as he develops and as the Spurs get better, he will be a draw for free agents. Now, everybody knows San Antonio is not a destination spot for top free agent talent. Yes, you get your David West, Rome Kersey's, stuff like that. But talk about major free agents. Your top build names. Raul, part of this rebuild is perhaps building around Wemby. Do you think that Wemby and it's in himself and maybe his personal efforts? Do you think he's going to buck this trend of free agents, major free agents, not coming to San Antonio? Is he big enough draw for that to start happening?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'm not sure. Because if you think about it, if you just look at their history, I mean, Spurs had David Robinson, who's considered one of the great players. At that time, they had Sean Elliott. I'm trying to remember who else they had at the time. I think Terry Cummings. So they had a great spot there, but they could never get free agents to come here. And then, of course, you had Tim. Then you had Tim and David. And you later had Tim, Manu, and Tony, who were all, greatest players, one of the greatest trios ever. I personally think they're the greatest trio ever, just by the fact that they were able to have such great longevity, But, they were never able to attract any free agents. As great as Tim was, people talked about how great Tim Duncan was. People, a lot of people emulated Manu, Tony, first great European point guard, as far as just being on a stellar level. But they could never attract a free agent. The closest they ever came was, I believe it was after the 2003 season when they beat the Nets. Jason Kidd was very close. Jason Kidd was very close to coming to the Spurs. From what I understand, it was kind of almost a last-minute decision where he decided to stay with the Nets, which actually turned out great because I think if Jason Kidd had come here, I think Tony Parker would have left.
Right. Yep.
And then Chris Parker wins the 2007 NBA Finals MVP, But that's why I'm sort of giving a history because as far as like with Wemby, I don't know. I mean, Wemby's a great talent. He's gonna I think redefine the game as far as you got a guy 7'4" that can dribble like Jamal Crawford, hit threes like Steph Curry at times. So I think he's gonna redefine the game. But is that gonna draw? Is that gonna be a draw for free agents?
Yeah.
My initial thought is no, and that has nothing to do with Wemby or anything else. Just for some reason, free agents just don't like coming to San Antonio. The biggest free agent they've ever signed was LaMarcus, and I think that was partly because he's from Texas. Went to school in Austin. And I believe his kids were in San Antonio, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that played a big role in him coming here. But he's the biggest free agent that I can think of. In their prime. That they've attracted. So you've always heard, guys talk about how much they admire Pop, how much they admire Tim.
Yeah.
You hear people now talking about how much they still admire Pop and how impressed they are with Wemby. But is that going to translate to free agents actually coming here? I just don't think so. I think our market is too small for them.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a driving factor. I mean, look at Kawhi. Kawhi is a great player, didn't get a lot of attention here in San Antonio. And then as soon as he leaves, starts getting all this national media attention, starts getting these national commercials. So, when it comes to, I don't know, I'm sure players have their eye on it, but I'm sure their agents and their families maybe have a little bit more to do with it. Before anyone starts saying anything, I don't think Wemby's going to have a problem with that, but as far as getting attention and getting marketing, but is that going to translate to somebody else that comes here getting that sort of attention? I don't think so. I think they're going to have to build to the draft and through trades.
Yeah. I
would be shocked, honestly, if a prime free agent came in here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Credit to Kawhi. I think it did come out eventually that he was kind of urging the Spurs to make moves. I think the biggest one was to bring in Paul George. It just didn't happen. But again, he's not. That was the last idea I could think of a star Spur player trying to recruit. But even at that, it would have had to been via trade. Now, I think it's next off season's free agent class is pretty deep. Guys like Paul George is on it. Kawhi Leonard, some big star names. And now most of them might get locked up by their current team. Who knows? But if they stay on this current path, there'll be some star power. Now, the Spurs do need help in the rebuild and mainly, another all-star type player to play alongside Wemby. This is where I get nervous if he's going to be enough of a recruiting tool for the Spurs. He's starting to kind of make San Antonio. He just have. I think Louis Vuitton would have followed him if he landed in Houston or Charlotte or wherever he would have been. But hey, with Wemby here, you have a big name brand, Louis Vuitton, having a presence now in San Antonio, a bigger presence that is. So you saw that, and you see sometimes players that have come to San Antonio either via trade or free agent try to make San Antonio a place to be. DeMar DeRozan, credit to him. His new clothing line started in San Antonio. He didn't start it in California where he's from. It was in San Antonio, but still not enough. I look at other international stars because that's what Wemby is and where he is now or going to be. Luka Doncic. Has Luka really attracted a major free agent to Dallas? I don't think so. What about Giannis? A major free agent talent, not via trade. No, he has not. But, you got to wonder, is there a certain common thread here? Is it international players free agents don't want to come play with? I don't know. But I am with you. I think this is going to build by the draft. And the way they get a top free agent to come here is either sign and trade with the team or – unless they just blow that cash on them. Money talks, Raul. That's the only thing you think of. You hear this about the San Antonio small market tax when it comes to free agents. Do you believe that? Do you think that Spurs are going to have to maybe overspend to bring in top names?
Well, they've done it before. I think people forget. They didn't go they didn't spend say the Clippers do or the Clippers do now or the Lakers or where they're going to go, far over the salary cap. But back in the day, the big three, the last, their tail end of the big three, they went over the cap a few times, to keep, to pay the big three that they have, and then to bring in these different players and such. So they went over, I think it was a couple times, I think. So they're willing to go over, but it seems like Spurs, what they like to do is they like to spend money on their own, like to reward. Malik Rose is one that I always think of, I don't know if there was much of a market for Malik Rose. I mean, he was a kind of undersized guy that hustled and, but as far as I think they gave him at that time, I think it was $7 million a year. I think it was, which I'm not sure what other offers he got, but sort of the Spurs' way of rewarding their own. So they have a lot of salary cap coming up, but then they also have a lot of young players whose contracts are going to be coming up. So, I don't know how much they're going to want to dip into free agency, but of course, they're going to try and get some. I mean, Spurs, I know people don't think they do, but I know the Spurs have in the past, at least explored the idea of signing, say, a LeBron or someone like that. But unfortunately, I mean, if that player has no interest in coming here, then it doesn't matter what the Spurs do. They're not gonna come here. I mean, LeBron wanted to go to Miami. He went to Miami. He signed with Miami. LeBron wanted to go to the Lakers. He signed with the Lakers. So Spurs could have thrown all kinds of money at LeBron both those times, but he had made up his mind, which obviously that's
yeah. And you also look at the state of the Spurs right now. They're not going to be one of the best teams in the league for a while. They might not be next year, maybe 2 years from now, maybe three. We're being generous, but you some of these free agents, like we talked about, that coming up next offseason, they're going to be looking at where they are with their team as far as making a playoff run, a championship run, what have you. The Spurs are not there yet. I mean, the best they can give them is we'll be a play-in run team. How about that? Top free agent, but that's not going to be enough. Build to the draft. It looks like that's where they're going to go, and it looks like that might be the way they're going. Look, they're going to have another top pick this summer. I think right now, Raul, I'm pretty sure the fans will correct me. I think the worst they can do as of right now is number 7.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst they can do. So they're going to get a top 10 pick regardless.
Possible chance to have 2. So
possible chance. Perfect. Yeah. Possible to have a chance of 2. So, but even then, that I think the only way they're going to bring in top names is either they strike gold in the draft, Raul, or they just make a trade. And I think that's probably going to be their best bet to bring in a top name to fit next to Wemby. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so as well. But the thing is, the other thing is, they do need another superstar to pair with Wemby. Basically every team in the league has, at least 2, superstars that sort of push each other and, take some of the pressure off. But they could go out and they could get, maybe not a superstar player, but someone that could help, like that, I don't know that Chris Middleton is considered a superstar. He should be, but I don't know that he's considered a superstar. But that type of player, a guy that comes in there and takes the pressure off, hits big shots, plays, hustles, great glue guy, what they call him, is a guy with good chemistry. They could sign someone, a free agent like that, where maybe it's not as big of a splash as, say, I don't know, someone that's in the all NBA first team, but someone that's going to play alongside Wemby and make the Spurs more of a cohesive unit and take some of the pressure off. So, I think I would imagine seeing them do that. I can't remember all the people who are out there as far as free agents, but I can see them doing that, picking up, a piece here or there. But I think regardless, I do think they're going to do that. I think they may make a trade, but I know a lot of people are thinking, you had mentioned it, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how they don't think they're going to be very good next year. I honestly think they're going to win at least 30 or 40 games next season. I really think that. So
that'd be a great topic. Hey, that's a great topic. I'm going to say that one because I'm running out of topics at the end of the season, Raul, to be honest with you. Yeah. But that kind of reminds me kind of like a scenario. Now, look, everybody knows. I mean, just look behind me. Everybody knows I'm a big nerd. I think all San Antonio knows I'm a big nerd. You're right there with me.
Yep.
But if You know what this reminds me of? It's like when you're a kid, when we're kids. By the way, everybody, there used to be this thing called Toys R Us in the United States. It was like a big toy warehouse, and you would go. I would go with my mom, and mom would go, "Okay, here's $10." And I go, "Okay." Now, then the decision: do I go and get the big name toy in one shot, or do I use $10 and get a multiple, maybe not lesser, but just as good toys, but not as pricey, and bring a collection? So I have a chance to bring in just one heavy hitter or 3 or 4 of them to add to my collections, where my friends will say, "Hey, that's a pretty good collection." Where do you stand with it? That's kind of what the Spurs are right now. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of draft picks. They got a lot of players on the current roster they can flip to bring in that new toy or new toys to build around Wemby. Do you think they should just go for it in one shot, use that $10 on a big name, or bring in a multiple of really good players? Like you mentioned, like for example, a Middleton or a Tobias Harris. Bring in those type of guys.
As far as free agency, I think the better way is to maybe bring in a couple guys that could help them. Because if you bring in a superstar, obviously that's going to help Wemby, but I think it's going to take him a while to adjust. If you look at some of the super teams that have been over the years, they have usually the first year they don't do well. It takes them a while to adapt to each other. I think Miami's first year, I can't even remember if they made the finals or not. But
yeah, I think they fell short. Yeah.
So I think it was the second or maybe the third year where they won their first title. So it always takes when they pair these super teams, either they don't come through as far as winning an NBA title, or it takes them a little while to adjust. So if they bring a superstar in, I think him and Wemby would have take them a little time to adjust to. Whereas if you bring in a player that maybe is more of a role player, then he can fit in with Wemby in the system as far as free agency. As far as any trades, I know people want to basically trade the whole roster. And that's the same thing. If you make this huge change, it's not going to guarantee that they're going to win a title next year, and it's going to maybe even set them back because they're going to have to get used to the system. They're going to have to get used to playing alongside Wemby. People that come through the Spurs organization always talk about how it takes them a year to kind of figure out the system and kind of get used to everything. I've heard that from many players, say that it takes them about a year to kind of fully adjust to Pop in the system. I'm sure that's even with Pop sort of not implementing everything with them. So. To answer the question, I would go maybe 2 or 3, role players. Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah, because you don't have so many. There's only one basketball. You don't want to have to feed 2 people who need to eat a lot. Wemby's going to get his, a mega superstar player. Not again, just using it out there because that's the first thing that popped in my head. James Harden is going to be a free agent. And he's going to want touches. It's working right now in the Clippers to a degree, but will it work in San Antonio? It's different, different style, different players, and a big one too with Wemby. All in all, yeah, I think Wemby will try his best to attract that, but I think it's going to need a collective. It's going to need Wemby, trying to bring in players to come. Hey, join me, San Antonio, and selling them on. We got something going, but I think players are going to want to say, okay, well, I don't want to be part of a rebuild right now. And that's what the Spurs are right now. They're part of a rebuild. I think maybe we'll see that trend buck once they start winning. But even then, Raul, we saw that in the Big Three era. They were winning titles.
Every year they were considered an NBA Finals contender, championship contender, and still never attract that big name. Of course, with all that being said, if I know he's not a free agent, but say someone like Damian Lillard was available as a free agent, obviously you go after that guy, and you forget about the other ones because he would automatically make you a contender. Having a strong leader like that, a guy that can shoot and score in the clutch. But if that's the case, then obviously, in the Spurs, obviously you're going to do that as well if they can sign someone like that. But I just don't know. Again, I don't know who's going to come here. And like I said, it's strange, because I'm thinking it's the market size, but then at the same time, everybody that plays here in San Antonio loves it, and usually winds up making it their home for the rest of their life. And
Yeah.
I know there's other NBA players, who have lived here, who didn't even play with the Spurs, but they just like the city. So
Yeah.
players love the city, but for some reason they just won't sign here.
Yeah. Yeah. And as much as Popovich, gets the love from players, Team USA. I think I don't know if you ever caught that. There was a game this season where they caught on Mike Popovich talking with Chris Paul. And he's joking with Chris Paul, saying like, all this time you said you want to come play for me, and you never did. So I mean, there it is. Who knows? Think maybe dare I say things might change if Pop retires. Maybe that could be a big change. Maybe the players. We've heard it, from former players, Steven Jackson and DeJounte Murray and Kawhi Leonard and even LaMarcus Aldridge. He also said sometimes some players don't like Pop's style, the book reading, the history lesson. They just, LaMarcus Aldridge said to Showtime's All the Smoke in his interview saying, Kawhi, part of the reason why Kawhi didn't really have a good time in San Antonio was because of Pop's methods. So we don't know. It could be a combination of things. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I've heard that too, and I don't know how much of that is actually, factored into decisions. I mean, you look at Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was a bit similar as well, and he was still able to attract the free agents, but of course, he was in LA and New York. So
there you go.
So and there's other coaches that maybe not have a difference. Similar, maybe not the same style, but similar styles. You look at. And then you look at other guys as far as I've heard people talk about, well, maybe Pop's too mean or rough. I mean, there's other guys out there. I mean, Tibbs in New York with the Knicks, he's tough. And they've been able to attract free agents. So, I just don't. Again, I just think maybe it's just the market size.
Yeah.
But
it could come down to that. And right now is probably the worst time to come to San Antonio. The rebuild, losing seasons. How much longer they're going to be in the rebuild, market size, maybe this could be a factor too. How much more years does Pop have? For agent may say, like, I don't want to come to Pop, come to the game, but if he's going to retire and we're going to go through that change all over again, who knows? So, I do think once the Spurs start winning, and if Wemby is all that as he's projected to be, and he's almost there already, then maybe he might buck the trend. But if we're going to learn from history, it doesn't seem like it. Because even when the Spurs were winning titles, marching to get those 5 titles, they still cannot bring in a top free agent. All right. When we get back, we're going to talk about you guys, Locked On Spurs fans. What are y'all talking about on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page? We're going to pick out 2, and we're going to be discussing you guys. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk to you about Stitch Fix. That instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? Well, that's what you'll get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. Look, get that easy upgrade for your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. Look, Stitch Fix, it works. You just give them your size, your style, your budget preferences. You order the boxes when you want and how you want it, and guess what? No subscription required. And they send those just for you pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. And look, that's what keeps it working. And you can send the rest back if you don't like it. The stylist will always send just right pieces, and the fit is on point. It's like they have style ESP. I don't know how they do it, but they just get you. Stitch Fix makes all things so easy. Look, if you don't like shopping, you want to save the time, you want to save the effort, that's where Stitch Fix comes in. Get those outfits that make you look real good and make you feel real good as well. Look, if you don't love something, you just send it back. Shipping and returns and exchange are always free. Get the style that you like. Get that look. Get the styles right now. Styles that make you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. Stitchfix.com/lockedon. Also want to talk to you about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee San Antonio. Go there right now, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. It's in the 281 to 1604 area. They got it all. Need a latte? Check. Cold brew? Check. The signature drink, Mudslinger coffee drink? They got that. What about dairy alternatives? What do you want? Something that'll supercharge your day, part of the Red Bull infused lightning bolt series? I recommend the strawberry flavor to be added to any of those. They have it all only at Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. They're a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs and a proud community member of San Antonio. They love serving San Antonio the best drinks around. And then we got mini donuts. They got more signature drinks lined up. I don't know how they do it. They just do. Follow them on social media at MuslingerSATX, at MuslingerSATX right now. Seriously, it's like new flavors, new concoctions, new drinks pops up every single day from them. They are the best around in San Antonio. And the good thing is they're open every day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. Go there right now, San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Every day they're open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Why? Because life is too short for bland coffee. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Raul Dominguez. Make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez5. He'll follow you back, talk all things Spurs, sports, entertainment. I mean, seriously, everything. Just follow him right now. He's with the AP Sports. So it's about that time. We talk about you guys, the Locked On Spurs fans, and pick a couple comments. Wish we could read them all, but we can't. So we'll just go off with the first two that we just said right now. The first one is from Lade Idir, Mr. Dominguez. He says, just no. What's he referring to? The fact that we discussed about reducing Wemby's minutes this season, not because of, treat him like with kid gloves or nothing like that, but because of a packed summer, Team France, Olympics, Spurs training camp, start of his sophomore season. You get where I'm going at. So Lady Deer is saying, no, do not start reducing his minutes right now with the Spurs. Your thoughts, Raul?
I agree with Lady Deer. Don't restrict his minutes. He wants to be out there on the court. I think if it was up to Victor, he'd be out there the entire game, but of course the Spurs, aren't going to allow him to be on the court that much, but continue to let him play as much as he wants. He's got a great competitive streak. Don't try and pull the reins back, so to speak. The other thing is, I think as far as playing on national teams, Pop's always talked about how he will never say no to a player wanting to play for their country. And the other thing is, you look at when the Spurs would make those big runs, back in the days of the Big Three, even after those long runs, Manu would still go play for Argentina. Tony would still play for France. Tim would play for the United States. So Spurs have been there before, and they've gone longer seasons, into the NBA Finals at times. Yeah. So they know exactly how to handle it. I'm sure they have their staff, meeting with the players or kind of, going over it with the players. So they'll keep an eye on Wemby and France will never do anything to have any of their players, especially Wemby, hurt. So they're going to take care of him as well. And then the other thing, of course, is, Wemby, he doesn't have to play the entire game. I mean, you look at France is stacked. I mean, you got Rudy Gobert, you got Sarr coming up. I think they've got. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on some of the other names, but they've got
two might play. Yeah,
they got some other great young prospects coming up. Bilal's out there. I mean, Wemby's not going to need to play a lot of minutes with that team from France with Rudy there. He's obviously going to play a lot of minutes, but he doesn't have. It won't be. He's not going to be the only star. He's not going to be like some player going to a team where that player is the only superstar. So let Wemby close out the season strongly. And Wemby and the Spurs are smart enough to take care of him in the Olympics.
Absolutely. And they really are maintaining his health throughout the season. You see him on his own stretching out between quarters, or when he's out of the game, he's constantly moving up and down that sideline. His trainer from France is still with him, so he might be okay. So hopefully he is. Hopefully he's not too gassed come the start of his sophomore season. It's a great comment there. Thank you, Lade Adir. The next one comes from Alexander Martinez. He says, if the Spurs can't get Trae Young, I say we should wait just another year and try to get Luka, Giannis, and Donovan Mitchell. Now, I'm pretty sure Giannis and Luka will probably get wrapped up, sign, seal, deliver for their current team, Dallas and Milwaukee. But Donovan Mitchell is interesting. The little general himself, Avery Johnson, spoke to CBS Sports this season, saying the Spurs should target Donovan if he does become a free agent. I think Donovan will fit in pretty well, and could be that needed all-star / perimeter scorer slasher the Spurs need right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. I mentioned Dame, just as an example, but Donovan's, a perfect example. If you can get someone like Donovan, I mean, you go all in. He would get just a tremendous upgrade. Great scorer, great competitor, very fiery. He got into it with Zach in the last game.
Yeah,
he bring a lot of grit to the team. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Alvin Robertson. He used to play for the Spurs, but with a much better offensive game, just as far as just his presence on the court, and just sort of that fire and the he plays with. So he would definitely be a great one to have. Luka and Giannis are probably going to stay with their teams.
Yeah.
They've talked about the big thing with them is they want to make sure that the franchise is trying to win. Milwaukee got Dame. Dallas got Kyrie. So they've shown that they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep them there and to obviously win a title. So I think they're both going to stay there. But, Donovan, he went to Cleveland in the trade, so I don't know. He's going to have a great loyalty as far as, wanting to stay there or take a discount or so he'd be the one of those three that I could see going to another team.
Yeah, and then Avery Johnson also brought up how Donovan has played for small markets, Cleveland, Utah, Salt Lake City. So coming to San Antonio in the small market that Spurs are labeled to be playing at wouldn't be too much of a shock to him. But I think that would be a great target player to get for the Spurs. We were just talking about that in the first segment with Raul and myself about Wemby and free agents and everything. I mean, hey, hopefully, so you figure he's going to be a free agent not this summer, next summer, so one more year. Hopefully after next season, your prediction is right that they're going to be a 30 team plus or win whatever, way better than they are right now. That'll just open eyes for Donovan saying like, hey, you're the missing piece. You come in, you can push us over the edge. Look, we're projecting the right way. We got a bunch of cash, so we can pay you. So the Spurs should be sitting pretty if they get their pitch to Donovan if he does leave. But there are also rumblings that Donovan could land in New York. Spurs would have some competition there because the Knicks are a lot better than the Spurs right now. Hey, we thank y'all for those comments. We wish we could read them all, but unfortunately we cannot. We'll read more as the season comes down to an end. He is Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. Raul, what do you have for the sports-loving fans, Spurs-loving fans that's on your neck of the woods?
Well, just upcoming games up in Austin, those are fun. It's more of almost a college atmosphere up there. I'm always kind of curious, how many Spurs fans from San Antonio, either season ticket holders or just ones that people that buy single game tickets, how many of them go to Austin? Because I see a few familiar faces, but for the most part, it's kind of a whole new crowd up there in Austin. So
absolutely, yeah. I'm going to be going to probably the Sunday game only. Ken's 5, they're there for the Friday games or today's game, so they're sad they don't need me. But I'm going to go out there. No, it'll be my first time doing this. I didn't go to last year's, and so this is my first time. I hear the players talk about that it's a very cool Moody Center. It's really nice and everything. My first time there. And but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in Austin that started yesterday. So a lot of good things going on. And if you're wearing Spurs gear and it's the Spurs, I'll say staff, aka David Robinson. Don't say I said that, okay? If they see you on the streets in Austin wearing Spurs gear, you get free swag. So another reason for you to go and check out Austin and all that's going on. So, but Raul, we thank you for always stopping by here at Locked On Spurs, winding up the week right here with us at the pod. Again, follow him on X at Dominguez5 right now. That's on X. And we thank you guys for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available every good podcast. We'll be back next week. All things silver and black. Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it right now. Sports all day, 24/7. Locked On Sports Today. So for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.